everyone, and welcome back to Candid Conversations on Leadership. Chris, you're looking nice and springy today.
Yeah, I decided to ditch the blue jacket for this light gray one. I see you're wearing your spring whites as well, looking sharp.
Yes, awesome. Well, today we are joined by a special guest. I'm going to take a moment and read the bio.
Fantastic.
Okay. Sparkle Sanders is a certified and independent leadership consultant, coach, and speaker with Maxwell Leadership. She has 20 years of experience in business and marketing and owns AddSpark Consulting Incorporated, where she helps businesses, ministries, and organizations of all sizes with leadership development and training, workshop facilitation, executive coaching, strategic planning, visioning, and more. Sparkle has served numerous units and teams throughout the Illinois campus, including Geese College of Business, Granger College of Engineering, and the Division of Student Affairs, to name a few. In addition to UIUC, she has partnerships with organizations throughout the community and beyond, including Parkland College, Girl Scouts of Central Illinois, Northwestern Mutual, the State of Illinois, and Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts, MCLA. Sparkle Sanders is also founder and speaker of Beautiful Truth LLC, a global encouragement ministry that uses God's word to encourage people all over the world through social media, devotional, Bible studies, retreats, and more. In 2017, Sparkle wrote her first book, 180 Days of Beautiful Truth, a daily devotional designed to help others transform their thoughts and life. Learn more about Sparkle Sanders and her work at sparklesanders.com. Welcome, Sparkle.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
We're so glad to have you. You're officially our first non-university employee guest on the podcast,
Okay, wow.
which is fantastic. Although I feel like you're part of our university family because you do so much work with the university, so much great work. I know you've done work with my team and other teams in our college. So I'm really looking forward to kind of diving into your story because I don't really know a lot about your story.
Yeah, that is very true. I do feel like I'm a part of the university family.
So I'll kick it off and say, we're going to talk about your journey and what you learned about leadership along the way, and we'll highlight some of those key career milestones. But if we could perhaps start off by sharing a bit about your name itself and how it reflects your journey.
That is a great question. Can I be honest? It took me like 35 years to grow into this name, to even like my name, right? So, journey of my name, I'm actually named after a movie. So there is a movie. The title is Sparkle. It actually was a Broadway play back in the 70s. They made it into a movie in like 1976. It is not my parents' favorite movie at all. They just like the name.
Oh,
so the story is they love the name. She's one of three sisters, Sparkle is, and they are an up-and-coming like singing group, and it's about their rise and fall. And so Sparkle ends up being the one that is the star and sings. I cannot sing for anybody listening. That
know the
has
movie
nothing to do with
We won't ask you.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But so the story was my sister, I have one sister, she was supposed to be named Sparkle, but it was in the 70s. And my parents said they chickened out. It was a little too different. But when I came around a few years later, they were like, they looked at me because they didn't have a name picked out. And they said, okay, this is Sparkle. We're going to name her Sparkle. It fits. So yeah, that is the journey of my name. And I think it took just some time for me to just lean into the uniqueness of that name and what it means. It means light. It means to shine brightly with flashes of light. And so whenever I speak or I'm with someone, they say, I feel like I have so much energy since you've been in the room. And I'm like, okay, that's me living up to my name. That's what it is.
Yeah. So tell us kind of some of the pivotal moments as you kind of went along your career and how that sort of changed your approach to leadership. And
oh my goodness. I will be honest. I never had a plan to get into and to be a part of leadership development and training. My background is actually marketing and business. So that's what I went to school for. Went to school at Eastern Illinois University for marketing communication, stayed down there and continued to do my MBA. And then I got, a job here in town in marketing. And so I did that for a really long time. I think that was probably my first kind of opening to what leadership really was. I was very young in my career, but I started to pick up pretty quickly on leadership and how I had different leaders and how different leaders would do different things, how they would lead me differently. And from there, I think I just started to get more curious. I got curious about, okay, if I have a certain type of leader, how does that impact me? How does that impact the team? how does that impact what we're doing? And so it started probably with that first job right out of grad school. And then, I continued on. I taught a little bit at Parkland College. I ended up getting a job here on campus at the Career Center. And even there, I started seeing more about leadership and more about just like a larger team and how we needed like different types of leaders to manage a larger team. We had students to manage. So that brought in, right, a different dynamic. And so leadership became this lens and this thing that I went to all the time to try to better understand what's going on at my job. Like, why are these things happening? And really, to be honest, as I share in many of my sessions here, I saw a lot of amazing leaders, but I saw them being like really stressed, really frustrated, burnt out. I'm like, okay, if this is what you went to school for, why do you seem like you hate it? Like, right? Like, and many of us, we felt like that. Like, I went to school for this. I put all this work in, but man, I don't even know why I'm here anymore, right? And so that made me curious. I really started to investigate, you guys. Okay, I must be missing something. We have vacation, we have summer break, we have all these like secular things that happen. And when people get back, they still hate their life and their job. What's going on? And what I started to realize is, honestly, just in our society, we don't put a lot of weight behind leadership development. We do professional development. I have two different definitions of that. Professional development, right? This is me learning about my field, right? This is me learning more about my industry. We go to conferences for that. But how many people are pouring into us about how to lead, asking you what type of leader you are? What type of leader do you want to be? Do you have a vision for your team? Do you have a vision for yourself? And I noticed without that, people became really fatigued, burned out. They didn't really have a way about doing things. They didn't have a grounding and a foundation. And so it was through early in my career, I started to pick up on some things very quickly and seeing the need.
Yeah. So you mentioned this idea of burning out and you saw that need in others. Did you ever see that in yourself? And if so, tell us more about that.
Story of my life. So
please share.
Yes. So one of the reasons why I do what I do now is because the people that I serve, I tell them, I was you. I know what that feels like to sit in a job and in a role and question, why am I here? Do I add any value? Do they see me? Do they see my skill set? What is this? And I'll be honest, I had that for most of my career. Like it started out really good. That's how it starts out. Really good. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to change the world. And then you get there and then reality hits and you're like, what is this? You get a boss that you and that person communicate totally different. And suddenly you're like, okay, my boss hates me. Maybe I hate my boss. Maybe I need to find a new job, right? Yeah. And so that journey, any job I had, I think I was in that state of reflection and really trying to understand the self. I was trying to find myself because I felt very fatigued, very burnt out, and very much like I was misunderstood. I was like, I don't think they get who I am. So one of the things I've learned who I am, I'm a disruptor. Right? I know that's a strong word, but I'm a disruptor. And so what I learned, and I think back to childhood, I literally told a boss this once. She was like, you are very opinionated. I said, I know. Call my parents. Ask them. Like, this has been going on since I was 6 years old. I know, right? And so I was always that person that was able to see the gaps. Right? So I can be in a room, we can be in a scenario, and I'm the one that can say, okay, hey, did we think about this yet? Okay, what about that? Depending on the type of leader you're under, that can be received really well or it may not be received really well. And so depending on how it was received, what I used to do was internalize that. There's something wrong with me. I need to be more silent. I need to shrink. I just need to just come and do my job and put my head down. Well, guess what that does? That makes you more frustrated, more fatigued, more burnout. You're not being your authentic self. And so one of the things I teach in leadership, I say there's two things you need to know. You need to know how to lead yourself and lead others. That's what this is about. Yep. You have to first know how to lead yourself. Do you know how to lead yourself? Do you know what you even like? Do you have a vision for how you want to lead? Before I can lead, Candice or Chris, I have to know about Sparkle.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not taught that. And I had to learn that, right? The hard way. I had to learn how to set boundaries. Like a lot of the things I was looking at my bosses and pointing the fingers at, I realized, wait, I'm not setting the boundary. I'm the one that's making myself feel disrupted and I don't have peace, but I can draw a line here. I can say, you know what? This does not work for me. What else can we do? And still honor them, right?
Yeah.
Honor the position, honor the person, but set the boundary and knowing how to do that. And so for me, it's definitely been a journey. I spent a lot of years just pointing the finger back either at myself or at others until I learned not to point the finger at me, but to start working on me.
So was there a moment that sort of stands out to you where you're like, oh, I got to change this approach?
Oh, yes. It was actually when I got here on campus at U of I. So this was job number, I don't know, I can't count. But so I come to the University of Illinois and I'm like, this is going to be different because I'm going to be in a different, I'm back in higher ed. Like I'm now not in healthcare. I'm not teaching. I'm not, because I'm thinking it's the place, right? It's the place, it's the people. So I get here and about a year into this, I'm like, why am I seeing the same thing again? What is going on? And so I remember after kind of stopping around, honestly, for a little bit, Chris, it really came to me, okay, Sparkle, it cannot be every place that you are going. Something my mom used to tell me when I was little, she's like, you are the common denominator in all of these stories. Yeah. It cannot be the place and the other person. You are following you. And I really took a step back and I was like, okay, what am I doing? And so it was 2017 to be exact. I remember it because I was a part of Women's Business Council here in town. We had a guest speaker and she was John Maxwell trained. She was just amazing and phenomenal. She was offering this mastermind, what we call it, which is going through one of John's books. And I'm not a person that signs up for something immediately, but it just clicked. Signed up for it. And then I was like, well, how am I going to do this? It's over the lunch hour. I'm like, I'm working in the middle of campus. Like, this is never going to work. Well, I paid my money for it. And I was like, well, now I'm definitely going to go. I got to make this work.
Yeah.
Life-changing. It was it's led me to this place here. That moment, making that decision to be in that mastermind with 4 other individuals that I did not know. I didn't know them. They were older than me. They were more seasoned. Some were entrepreneurs. We went through this book called The 15 Laws of Invaluable Growth. It changed my life because what I learned, Chris, in that book, one of the chapters, it talks about just the sacrifice and the cost you have to make. And it talks about, leadership and even leading yourself. What are you willing to give up? It's called the law of trade-offs. And what I realized in that moment was, okay, a lot of my dissatisfaction was coming from the field I was in, right? Like, I can do marketing. I still do marketing, right? But there's a grace for this leadership thing that I do. And so I knew in that time in 2017, I was yearning for something more. I couldn't put my finger on it. And in doing that class, I was like, hey, this is what I feel like I'm being led to. I'm being led to I don't have to stay in marketing. There's a whole nother option out here for me. And I need to start tapping into that and figuring out how to actually move into that so I can be content and really connect with helping others. So that was very pivotal in my career.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you've worked with lots of clients, lots of companies, lots of organizations and things of that nature. What are those common fears or setbacks that you see often? I mean, you mentioned some people you see burnout, but can you share some others? And then how do you help them through those challenges?
Absolutely. One of the number one, and this is common, and I know people don't realize that it creeps up in their leadership, is confidence. Confidence in that imposter syndrome.
So how are you building the confidence amongst everybody else?
The first thing I do, right, is I got to start helping people learn about themselves. So in addition to everything I do, I am DISC trained and certified, right? And here's why I love DISC. I fell in love with DISC because it helped me learn to not hate my personality, but to embrace it. I tell people this. I've heard, other people say, well, I took this Sparkle somewhere else and I found out that I was de-wired and I just cried. And I said, well, what did the facilitator do? Did they stop the course and bring you in and tell you this is not bad? DISC is about two things. It's about learning yourself and learning other people. I have to embrace me. I have to embrace others. And so with confidence, I start with, we need to get you an assessment so you know this is how you've been created. This is how you're wired. And there's nothing wrong with it. No. It's actually a beautiful thing. And so I start there, Candice, because I want people to know these are your strengths. And I tell people, stay in your strength zone. We work so much on, let me try to improve. And you wear yourself out.
Can't be all things to everyone.
You can't, and we've all done it. Like, I'm going to fix all this. And then we forget about the good stuff. We forget about the sweet spots, right? So confidence and imposter syndrome, what I want to do is the opposite of what the world and society has done. I want to build people up. And I want them to understand, okay, here's how you get confident. You have to get confident and knowledgeable about what you're strong in. Do you know your strength zone? What are those things that you're really good at? And are you putting your energy towards that? And I spend a lot of time also, Candice, with helping people identify what their vision is of their leadership. And they're like, I don't even know what you mean. I said, okay, I need you to think about, how are you leading? Some of us, like, we're transformative. Some of us, we are developers. Like, I have leaders that they want to develop people. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's other people, they're like, I'm very visionary. I'm big ideas. I want them to take these ideas and run with it. Who are you as a leader? And so that confidence is so common because I see most leaders have just gotten into a role by osmosis, or they just moved up, right? It's the next step. I hear that all the time. It's the next step. And my question is, great, it's the next step. What do you want to do there? How are you going to add value? How are you going to contribute to that organization, to those team members, to the unit? Mostly get a deer in headlights look like, it's pretty deep. People, whenever I coach somebody, they're like, you ask a lot of deep questions. And I was like, that's why you pay me.
That's what good coaches do.
I'm like, yes, that's why you pay me. I don't want to be on the surface, but that confidence and that imposter syndrome is like the number one that I see. The other one that I see, it's communication. There are so many people, even on our campus and beyond, they will tell me, I think my boss hates me. I think my coworker, like, we're just not getting along. And I've seen people leave jobs, do transfers. And I'm like, this can be remedied if we sit down and we learn our communication style. You don't have to always run away from a job. Some of this is, I got to learn Candice's communication style, and I have to be humble enough to change my approach to go to her, and vice versa. And so communication, confidence, that imposter syndrome are really big ones that I see even across our campus that people struggle with a lot, and that I want to support and help.
So speaking about confidence, I think our viewers and listeners right now, as they watch this, are going, wow, Sparkle has her stuff together, right?
Yeah.
So, but you've had setbacks. You have your doubts. Like, how do you personally handle it when you have a setback or you're kind of clouded with doubt? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Yeah, because I want everybody to know, and I will say this often when I'm with people, when I am teaching someone something, it's out of a space that's for me. Like, I have just went through that. For me, my center is, I'm a Christian. I'm going to have a relationship with Jesus. So when I have a setback, I go there first. I got to go there because he is who directs me. He is who led me into this. And so for me, when I feel like I have a setback, I have to stop, pause, and reflect and say, okay, what am I missing here, Lord? What is it that I need to see that's different, right? I also spend a lot of time processing, right? I tell all my teams this, right? And this is new for people because they're like, I can do this. And I'm like, yes. I said, we need to process through how you feel. It's okay that you're upset about this. And they're like, I can do that? Yes. So for me, when I have a setback, I try not to move quickly past it first. I give myself time to say, boy, I thought this was really going to be great, but it's not that great. I was expected to be really excited about this. I don't feel very excited about this. Like, I'm disappointed. I feel like I missed it. I feel like I failed. Man, I messed that up, etc. I give myself some time to sit with that. Then from there, I go into, okay, what's my action step? Now what do I need to do? I've wallowed a little bit, and that's okay. When you spend some time, I always tell people you can spiral to a solution. What's the solution? right? And so, I mean, I think people need to realize, even with me, they may see, oh my goodness, she's leading us. She has it all together. I tell people I fail every day. Every day I fail. And I am an overcoming minute by minute perfectionist. So it's really hard for me because I want everything to be perfect. I mean, start the day, I have this vision. It's going to go great. Guess what? It will not. Even today, I've had so many interruptions to get here. And I'm like, focus, Sparkle. You just got to get to campus. You just have to do what you're supposed to do today, right? And so with those setbacks, what I have learned, Chris, is not to always let the emotion of the setback take me like with the current, right? I have to set aside that time, get with the Lord, process it, and then figure out what's the plan of attack. Because if I stay in those emotions, which aren't bad, your emotions are indicators. I don't want anybody listening, your emotions are indicators. They are good to you, but we can't lead from them.
Yeah, you need to feel it, not let it drag you.
Absolutely, right? I tell people they're like indicators on the dashboard. If I am feeling like, I feel like I have not been valued. Okay, there's probably some reality to that. Explore that. Okay, what happened? How did the conversation go? Etc. Kind of dig there, but don't let that lead you. I have seen leaders be led by their emotions, you guys. And I'm like, that was an emotional response. And then they come back later and they're like, ooh, Sparkle. And I was like, let's talk about that, right? And so it's, again, going back to self-leadership. Do you know yourself? If you are a person, right, that has been led by your emotions, not bad. You're not a bad person, but how do we bring that, right, into a place where you don't have to be led by it, but you can use it? I love when I see a leader that is passionate, right? They're like, oh, I'm so emotional, I'm sensitive. I said, no, you're passionate. I love that. Yeah. Keep that enthusiasm, keep that passion, and be driven by it. But we know when we need to make a decision, we need pause time.
Yep. Yeah. So it's great because you're talking about that emotional intelligence piece and self-awareness, but self-management is also very much important when you have to do that.
Yeah. And I really appreciate your framing there because I think a lot of our listeners and viewers are in the IT community. And I find that in our community, a lot of people don't recognize the emotional part and realize that it's there, right? And they just like, no, we're not going to be emotional here. We're going to be all ones and zeros. We're going to be, black and white. And we're going to think strategically around this when the challenge is actually around the emotions and how people are feeling around the table.
Sure, Chris.
And so when you shove all that down, all it does is build up and then pressure cook its way. Yeah.
Chris, I love that you said that. I tell people it's both and. This is what I've learned in leadership. We try to pick I should be strategic or I should be task focused. Or I should just be people. I said, actually, you got to be both and. You got to be people focused and production focused. You got to get the work done. But I also have to think, oh my goodness, I got to think about Candice here. I got to think about Chris here. I have to do both and. And so this is why we need each other. It's why I love team and teamwork. Because if I'm not really good maybe at the task, but Candice is, I can partner with her and vice versa.
Yeah.
So what role does innovation play in effective leadership? You do a lot of coaching and consulting, but how do you innovate so that it's fresh, so it's exciting, so that it works for all the various different clients that you have?
Yes. So innovation in coaching and in leadership, I think especially now is really important because I think people are looking for something fresh. They're looking for something new. And so what I try to do is I always, especially when I'm doing workshops or I'm doing facilitation, I always try to bring something that is highly creative, highly interactive before we get into the bare bones of a thing, right? So for me, I use a lot of innovation around activities and exercises, right? So I always tell people, nobody just wants to see a talking head for an hour. That's not innovative to me, right? So I always say, I'm going to teach a little and we're going to do a little, right? And so I give you about 20 minutes of something and then we're going to apply it, right? And so I think in leadership, that's something to be remembered. How can you get them involved? How can you get their hands in it? How can you take even a common everyday task and relate it to something large like communication, conflict resolution, engagement, whatever that is. And so what I try to do is when I'm, especially with the team, is say, okay, let me do a discovery session, figure out what are the things they want to grow in, use that to really be creative around some type of exercise and activities we can do where they can laugh a little bit, where they can have some fun, where they can connect, and then we can debrief together. One of the tools that John Maxwell has is exclusive to our company. It's called the Leadership Game. And I know, Chris, your team did that. And here's what I love about the Leadership Game. It's a card game. And so it's no pressure. People can come in their relaxed clothes. We're going to play a game. But the questions are about leadership, about your leadership, about how you lead others, and people laugh. And some people cry, and I get to throw out candy to the winner, and people connect. And it's one of the best tools that we have. It's one of my favorite things to do, in an innovative way, because I get to see teams come together. And so I just love being creative around the activities and the exercises. And even in one-to-one coaching, I do the same. If you coach with me, I tell you, you're going to have some homework. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you some assessments. I'm going to give you some ways to look at things in a different way. You're going to be journaling, right? I want to always bring something fresh and new. I'm going to give you some videos to watch. I'm going to recommend a book. Some clients, we go through a book together. I do not want this to be a dump session. Mm-hmm. And I want you to grow from it. And so what I like to do even in that coaching space, Candice, is hopefully what my clients get, they get that innovation and they get motivated. They can take it back to their teams and use that as they lead.
And I'll vouch for the activities, because when you came in and worked with our team, I don't know if you knew, but a lot of that team, that was the first time they'd ever been in the same room.
Oh, I did not know that.
Because they're remote employees and we recently hired a bunch of people. And so to see them interacting with each other was really... you probably noticed I was in the front at first, and then I moved to the back because I wanted to actually witness the experience.
It was a great, and again, what I love even about that tool, I get to know everybody. So there's 4 or 5 people from your staff. I see them all the time, and I talk to them now all the time. And when I need help, I'm like, hey, can you come help me in BIP? They're like, oh yeah. But it helps me to connect with people too. And so I love it. It just doesn't have to be a one-to-one conversation. You can bring some creativity and some fun in there too.
So you mentioned your faith as a grounding thing for you. Are there other personal habits or routines that you use to contribute to your success?
Yes. So faith is one. The other is exercise. I'm really big on having, and I teach my clients this, all my leaders this, you need to have healthy outlets, right? I'm not going to judge your outlets. You don't need to judge your outlets. As long as they are not harmful to you or others, keep them. And so exercise is important to me. I use that time just to be with myself, right? I will, just think about the day. I may listen to some cool music. I may listen to a podcast. I spend time doing that. Journaling is big for me. So I normally journal in the morning. I journal at night as well, just kind of journaling okay, what happened with this day? Did I like this day? Did I see something that I didn't like? What will I want to change and improve? Also, just making sure that I stay connected with family and friends. I think that's good. In this space, especially in today's heightened, political climate and just what's going on in the world. I feel the feels. I'm a feeler too. So I feel the feels of my leaders. And sometimes I can't cry in front of them, but I sure cry in the car and I sure cry at home because I'm well, I need to do something. So I have to take that, somewhere. So it's me journaling. It's me getting with, good friends of mine and having a different conversation so I can get out of that headspace.
Do you use journaling for mostly reflection or reflection and planning?
Reflection and planning. I do. And when I do it in the morning, it's reflection. I kind of am just gushing out.
Okay.
Everything that I'm feeling, right? So this whole scenario that you wake up just ready for the day, that's a lie. No, most of us are not waking up ready to take the day on. We have hit that snooze button, you guys, 3 or 4 times. We are debating, should I get up today? Can I call in, right? And so I use that time to say, okay, what am I feeling? What's going on with me? What happened last night? What am I feeling this morning? So I'm getting it all out. then, the back half, at night, that is more of like, okay, so let me reflect on what went well today. Okay, what maybe do I need to do, right? You talked about planning. That is also a part of a discipline for me. I mean, I have had to get really just more kind of grounded in planning so that as I'm helping so many people, I'm making sure, I have a vision for each of my leaders and a plan of attack for them. And so, on DISC, I'm a C and I'm an S. If anybody knows about DISC,
Okay.
yeah, I'm a CS. Most people think I'm an I. I am an what?
I know. I was like, I almost sense some I tendency.
I know. People say you're I, and I'm like, I'm actually more like quiet and reserved when I'm not in front of people than you think. But that C is what helps me take the deep dive. And so I use it for planning, like planning my week, planning for who I'm going to talk to, creating a vision. Most people probably don't know. Like any leader I'm working with, I have a vision for them. I'm like, okay, we're here, but I want to get them there. And so I use journaling as part of that too. Cooking is one that I enjoyed. I know people are like, you like to cook? I'm like, I do. It's therapeutic. I kind of kick everybody out the kitchen. I'm like, leave me alone. Let me throw my headphones on. Let me make something. And if it turns out that it's not that great, that's okay. But at least I've done something.
So it looks like you've got a lot, like a full toolbox of things to keep you grounded.
I've tried very much too.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned some feedback you got from your mother. Can you share feedback that you received that was tough to hear, but ultimately made you better?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's been, so I tell this story and people are like, I can't believe you said that. I'm like, I know, this is why I do what I do now. So this is actually while I was here on campus. And so again, still growing, still learning. I was the main person responsible for overhauling our website. And so we were starting to do our website strategy meetings. My director was present and some of the associate directors. And it just became a heated conversation, and not with me in there. I was still very new. I'm like a month or two in. So I'm just trying to learn, right? But like when you start, if you know anything about marketing, you started going down that like kind of track of like ownership. It can hit a nerve like, okay, we're going to change this. Well, why? And so those conversations were happening and I was just kind of sitting back observing, and my director, turns to me and she says, what do you think? And so for me, a lot of like chaos and back and forth, especially at that time, I just would shut down from it. I'm like, I'm not dealing with it. I was like, this is insane. So they were kind of going back and forth and she's like, well, Sparkle, what do you think? And I said, I don't care. I said, I don't care. It doesn't matter what I think. I'm done with this. And she smiled, and she's just a great person. She's just a great leader. She said, well, you're over the marketing, so I need you to care. So I need you to figure out how you're going to care. Y'all, I felt this small. Like, this is in front of everybody. And I'm just like, and what was that? That was an emotional response. Mm-hmm. And so the feedback that I got from her, what she was really saying is, no, you don't get to not care. I hired you to do this job. I hired you to help us lead marketing. You don't get to bow out of this. And so I felt so small, but I learned something. I went back to my office and I was highly embarrassed. And I was like, okay, that wasn't a smart move. Like, Sparkle, like, where was that coming from? It came from, I was frustrated. I didn't know how to process through, right? My emotions. And so I just said it off the cuff, like, right? I did care. That's why I was upset, but I didn't have the language to say, okay, I'm like a little upset right now. I need a little bit of time. I can come back to you, which is okay to say. And so that was some hard feedback I got, earlier on in my career. I was in marketing and, you fresh out of college, you think that you're a hot shot and you know how to do everything. I was like, I'm a good writer. I write stuff all the time. I got A's in college. I got my MBA. Like, this is fine. And I was writing a script for a TV script that we were doing for an ad spot. And my VP kept throwing it back in my face. She was like, no, do it over. No, do it over. And I was like, is she crazy? Like, first couple of times I was like, okay. We're like 3, I was all day long. I was there till after 5. And finally I was like, what is your problem with me? Like, I don't understand. And she's like, because you can do this better. You can give me more than this. And I'm pushing you. And what you're doing is just putting something down. But she's like, there's more to you than this. I need you to go back and think through this. Think about it. Make this strategic. I'm like, I'm only 22. What are you talking about? But like the feedback that I got from that was, don't just slop something together to get it done. Yeah. But she was pulling gold in me. And so years later, and I'm still friends with her, I said, thank you. I know what you were doing now. She was like, yeah, you were settling. She was like, you were trying to give me a quick paragraph. And she was like, no. I already saw in you the gold. I was pushing you. You're not going to just give me these 4 sentences. You're going to think about this. And it was tough. I was literally there the whole, my friends had left. I was still there. I was like, am I about to lose my job if I don't finish this?
So she saw something in you that you didn't see in you. And so I want to ask you a question, because this podcast is called Candid Conversations.
Yeah.
And we want to know, what's something that most people don't know about you?
And it can be anything?
Anything.
Okay. What most people don't know about me is, oh gosh, which one do I want to choose? Because there's some good ones. Okay, I'll do this one. What most people don't know about me is that I actually met the entire 1993 Chicago Bulls winning team. And yes, my sister, right, who is so if, I don't know who's listening, but if you were in the 90s and a Bulls fan and you lived around here in Illinois, it was our thing, right? My sister is a huge sports fan, always has been. I don't know if you guys remember the show NBA Inside Stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She wrote a letter to NBA Inside Stuff when she was 12. So I was like 8. And she talked about her dream of like meeting Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, and they made it come true.
Wow.
They made it come true. NBA Inside Stuff came down to our home. I'm from Decatur, Illinois. They filmed us. They gave us free tickets to a Bulls game. We got a chance to meet the team. We sat right there on the court. We were there before the game. After the game, we went to dinner with half the players. We met Michael Jordan, shook his hand. I have a hat, a 1993 champion worship hat, and that all of them signed, and it's with my mom. I'm gonna keep it in my house because it's like treasure. I was like, Mom, you keep this. But yeah, that was April 11th of 1993, I believe, that we met the entire Bulls team.
Which player surprised you the most?
This is strange. People are going to say, did I even know him? Will Purdue. And here's why. He was so tall. So I'm like I was like 8, right? I got a chance to dance with Benny the Bull. It was a great night. But like, why did he surprise me? Because he was so tall. Like, again, I'm not that like tall anyways, even now as a 40-year-old woman. But like, then I was like, I thought he was like shorter than that, but he was super tall. But he was really nice. I still remember what Michael Jordan said to us. He said, "Thanks for bringing us luck." That's what but he was a very nice guy. I mean, it was just, it is a pivotal moment in our house that like we will never forget, because my mom wouldn't even give my sister a stamp to send the letter off because she was like, I need you to focus on your homework. You are fantasizing. And so when it happened, my sister was like, see, I told you. My mom's like, I ate my words. Never again. It's
got to have dreams, right?
You got to have dreams. And so I think that was probably my beginning too of seeing dreams come true.
I'm going to bring us home with our final question. So what do you hope that our listeners and viewers that see us in our wonderful spring attire take away from this conversation?
What I really want people to understand and see is that first, people see you and we get you, right? That's so important to me, because you feel like you're in a space, if you feel like you're in a space where you are not seen, you're burnt out, you're fatigued, and nobody gets it. No, somebody gets it. If nobody else gets it, Sparkle Sander gets it. That's A. The second thing I want people to realize is that the situation you're in is solvable and it can be changed. Whether you are leading a large team, whether you are on a team and you feel like you don't know what to do, the first step to that is looking inside. I want people to know, how do I look within and say, what's really going on with me? And what can I change? How can I lead myself differently so that externally things will change? We can't change things on the outside until we change things on the inside. And so I hope people understand it's okay to take a close-up look at yourself, see what's going on, explore that, and then from there, take some action.
Thank you, Sparkle.
Yeah, thanks so much for having the conversation with us. It may have taken you a little while to kind of feel comfortable in your name.
Yeah.
But you embody it. You embody it, and you bring it to the world. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you guys for having me. So fun.